everybody out there in YouTube land, Noodle here, and today we're back with the 39 steps, and here we go. The dry-fly fisherman, Turnbull's nursing brings Henny back to fighting fitness, but time is running out as June 15 draws near. I couldn't click on that button, I clicked it like 6 times. Dry-fly fisherman. Well, holy shit, time flew. Thursday, 11 June 1914, Turnbull Cottage, Scotland. When my skin was cool again, I found that the bout had more or less cured my shoulder. Cured my shoulder. But it was baddish go. I thought I was out of my bed in 5 days. It took me some time to get my legs again. Turnbull went out each morning, leaving me milk for the day and locking the door behind him, and came in the evenings to sit silent in the chimney corner. Not a soul came near the place, and he never bothered me with a question. He never even sought my name. See what we got here. Paper. The Scotsman. Jesus Christ. A lot of stuff. I'm just kind of looking at the headlines. I don't really see anything crazy here. Oh, here we go. Highlighted. What's this? King and school children. Letter in reply to birthday. Congratulations. The Press Association requested to give their publicity to the following correspondence by reference to the birthday congratulations sent by thousands of school children to the King of Wednesday. Buckingham Palace. Awesome. What's this? No further trace of aviator. A report circling yesterday that Mr. Gustav Hamlet, a missing airman, had been rescued at sea and landed at South Shields is unfortunately not correct. Our South Shields correspondent had extensive injuries. May says the report to Hamlet's safety. That has nothing to do with me. What's this? From private correspondence, Monday, Thursday night. The recent outages perpetuated by the suffragists have aroused such indignation throughout the country that it's expected an early opportunity will be taken after the reassembling of Parliament to raise the whole question to the treatment of the women found guilty of such criminal acts. The feeling. Okay. Don't know what any of this means. Okay. That's fine, I guess. What else can we look at? Something else. This chair. One day he produced my belt from a lockfast drawer.
Here's your belt. There's a terrible heap of silver in it. You better count it to see it's a there.
Thank you, but I'm sure there's no need. By the way, could you tell me, has anyone been inquiring after me?
Aye, there was a man in a motor car. He speered what I'd taken my place that day, and I let on I thought him daft. But he keep it on at me, and saying I said he might be thinking of my good brother for the cloch that whiles leaned me a horn. He was a worse looking soul, and I couldn't understand the half of his English tongue.
Okay, guess we're done here. I was getting restless those last days, as soon I would feel myself fit, I decided to be off. As luck would have it, a drover went past that morning, taking some cattle to Moffat. He was a man named Hislop, a friend of Turnbull's, and he came in to his breakfast with us and offered to take me with him. I made Turnbull accept £5 for my lodgings and a hard job I had of it. There never was a more independent being. When I told Turnbull how much I owed him, he grunted something about one good turn deserving another. You would have thought from our leave taking that we had parted in disgust. Awarded for recovery. Da 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 da. Driving cattle is a mortally slow job, and we took the better part of a day to cover a dozen miles. A cheery soul. The drover. Hislop was a cheery soul who chattered all the way over the pass and down the sunny vale of Annan. I talked of Galloway markets and sheep prices, and Hislop made up his mind I was a pack shepherd from those parts, whatever they may be. The journey. I had no mind for the summer and little for Hislop's conversation, for as the fateful 15th of June drew near, I was overweighted with the hopeless difficulties of my enterprise. If I had not had such an anxious heart, I would have enjoyed that time. At Moffat, I had some dinner in a humble public house and then walked 2 miles to the junction of the main line. The night express of the South was not due until near midday, however. So to fill up the time, I went on the hillside and fell asleep, for the walk had tired me. I'm getting used to sleeping outside. I always slept too long and had to run to the station to catch my train with 2 minutes to spare. This train looks familiar. Oh, here we go. Glasgow, Einbrick, Greengore. Okay, so we're traveling down Carlsea, past Lancaster, past Liverpool, Manchester, to Crewe, to Stratford, to Birmingham, to Bletchley, and then towards Oxford, Reading, Westbury. Or Swindon. About 6 o'clock in the evening, a weary and travel-stained being with a checkered black and white plaid over his arm descended at the little station of Artenswell. There were several people on the platform, and I thought I had better wait to ask my way until it was clear of the place. Onwards. Here we go. I came to a bridge and fell to whistling. A fisherman had come up from the waterside. He leaned his delicate 10-foot split cane rod against the bridge and looked with me at the water.
Clear, isn't it? I'd back our Kennet any day against the test. Look at that big fellow. 4 pounds if it's an ounce. But the evening rise is over and you can't tempt him.
I don't see him.
Look, there. A yard from the reeds, just above that stickle.
Ah, I've got him now. You might swear he was a black stone.
So. Twisden's the name, isn't it?
No? I mean to say, yes.
I've forgotten all about my alias.
It's a wise conspirator that knows his own name.
I stood up and looked at him in the square, cleft jaw and broad, lined brow with the firm folds of cheek, and began to think that here was at last an ally worth having. I didn't get to see what I collected, or got. Suddenly he frowned.
I call it disgraceful. Disgraceful that an able-bodied man like you should dare to beg. You can get a meal from my kitchen, but you'll get no money from me.
Evening, Sir Walter.
That's my house. Wait 5 minutes and then go round to the back door.
And with that he left me. At the back door, a grave butler was awaiting me.
Come this way, sir.
Oh, indeed I will, thank you. He led me along a passage and back up a staircase to a pleasant bedroom looking towards the river.
Sir Walter thought as how Mr. Reggie's things would fit you, sir. He keeps some clothes here, for he comes regular on the weekends. There's a bathroom next door, and I've prepared hot bath. Dinner in half an hour, sir. You'll hear the gong.
Fuck yeah, finally. I bet a bath feels good. The grave being withdrew, and I sat down in a chiseled covered easy chair and gasped. It was like a pantomime to come suddenly out of the beggardom into this orderly comfort. Obviously, Sir Walter believed in me, though why he did I could not guess. I resolved not to puzzle my head, but to take the gifts the gods had provided. I shaved and bathed luxuriously and got into the dress clothes and clean crackling shirt which fitted me not so badly. By the time I had finished, the looking glass showed not a young, unpersonable young man. Grave news. Achievement unlocked. Dry fish or fly. Fly fisherman. Let's keep going. Grave news. Sir Walter Bullivant takes Hanley at his word, but fears Scudler's findings may have been a little off track. Grave news. Saturday, 13 June, 1914. Sir Walter's cottage. Artenswell. 13 June. There's only 2 more days. Sir Walter awaited me in the dining room. The sight of him, so respectable and established and secure, the embodiment of law and government and all the conventions, took me aback and made me feel an interloper. He couldn't know the truth about me, or he wouldn't treat me like this. I simply could not accept his hospitality on false pretenses.
I'm more obliged to you than I can say, but I'm bound to make things clear. I'm an innocent man, but I'm wanted by the police. I've got to tell you this, and I won't be surprised if you kick me out.
That's all right. Don't let that interfere with your appetite. We can talk about these things after dinner.
Like this guy. He's a foodie, like me. It made me almost hysterical to be sitting there, waiting by a footman and a sleek butler, and remembering that I had been living for 3 weeks like a brigand with every man's hand against me. I bet it would probably be surreal. Does that fish sing if you get next to it? I went to a study for coffee. I made up my mind that if I ever got rid of this business and had a house of my own, I would create just such a room. Then, when the coffee cups were cleared away, we had got our cigars alight. He bade me get started with my yawn.
I've obeyed Harry's instructions, and the bribe he offered me was that you would tell me something to wake me up. I'm ready, Mr. Hannay.
I noticed with the start that he called me by my proper name. Ooh, a ripping yarn. How it began. I told of my boredom in London, the night I had come back to find Scudler gibbling on my doorstep. I told him all Scudler had told me about Carlides and the Foreign Office Conference, and that made him purse his lips and grin. The murder. Then I got to the murder, and he grew solemn again. I heard all about the milkman, my time at Gallow, my deciphering Scudder's notes at the inn. He drew a breath when I whipped the little book from my pocket. Meeting Sir Harry. I described the meeting with Sir Harry, and at the speeches at the hall. At that he laughed uproariously. The roadman. My day as a roadman excited him a bit, and he made me describe the 2 fellows in the car very closely, and seemed to be raking back his memory. He grew merry again when he heard of the fate of that ass Jalopy. Oh, Jopley. The Blackstone. The old man in the Moreland house solemnized him. Again, I had to describe every detail of his appearance.
You may dismiss the police from your mind. You're in no danger from the law of this land.
Great Scott. Have they got the murderer?
No. But for the last fortnight, they've dropped you from the list of possibles.
Why?
Principally because I received a letter from Scudder. I knew something of the man, and he did several jobs for me. He was half crank, half genius, but he was wholly honest. Trouble about him was his partiality for playing a lone hand. That made him pretty well useless in any secret service. A pity, for he had uncommon gifts. I think he was the bravest man in the world, for he was always shivering with fright, and yet nothing would choke him off. I had a letter from him on the 31st of May.
But he had been dead a week by then.
The letter was written and posted on the 23rd. He evidently did not anticipate an immediate decease. His communications usually took a week to reach me, for they were sent undercover to Spain and then to Newcastle. He had a mania, you know, for concealing his tracks.
He got up across the room to a cabinet, bringing back Scudder's letter. Ooh, reading letters from somebody who's dead always gives me chills. Show text, please. Sir Walter, I'm in the gravest danger. My worst fears have been realized. My enemies are here in London. They have made themselves known. I cannot write more in the case these words be intercepted, but I have found shelter with a good friend who lives near Portland Place. God willing, you will hear from me before the 15th of June. Your servant, Franklin P. Scudder.
I think his object was to clear you if anything happened. But when I got it, I went to Scotland Yard, went over the details of the inquest, and concluded that you were the friend. We made inquiries about you, Mr. Hannay, and found you were respectable. I thought I knew the motives for your disappearance. Not only the police, the other one, too. And when I got Harry's scrawl, I guessed at the rest. I've been expecting you any time this past week.
Thank heavens.
You can imagine what a load this took off my mind. I felt a free man once more.
Now, let us have the little notebook.
It took us a good hour to work through it. His face was very grave before he'd finished, and he sat silent for a while.
I don't know what to make of it. He's right about one thing. What is going to happen the day after tomorrow? How the devil can it have got known? That is ugly enough in itself. But all this about war and the Black Stone, it reads like some wild melodrama. If only I had more confidence in Scudder's judgment. Trouble about him was that he was too romantic. He had the artistic temperament and wanted a story to be better than God meant it to be. He had a lot of odd biases, too. Jews, for example, made him see red. Jews and the high finance. The Black Stone. Der Schwarze Stein. Yeah, it's like a penny novelette. And all this stuff about Karolides. That is the weak part of the tale, for I happen to know that the virtuous Karolides is likely to outlast us both. There's no state in Europe that wants him gone. Besides, he's just been playing up to Berlin and Vienna and giving my chief some uneasy moments. No. Scudder's gone off the track there. Frankly, Hannay, I don't believe that part of his story. There's some nasty business afoot, and he found out too much and lost his life over it. But I'm ready to take my oath that it's ordinary spy work. A certain great European power makes a hobby of her spy system, and her methods are not too particular. Since she pays by piecework, her blackguards are not likely to stick at a murder or two. They want our naval dispositions for their collection at the Marienamt. But they'll be pigeonholed. Nothing more.
Seems pretty confident, man. I don't know.
There's a trunk call from London, Sir Walter. It's Mr. Reith, and he wants to speak to you personally.
My host went off to the telephone. He returned in 5 minutes with a whitish face.
I apologize to the shade of Scudder. Karolides was shot dead this evening at a few minutes after 7.
Oh shit. New event, the Black Stone. Holy shit, they bumped it up fucking 2 days. That must have been what the hidden message is. The Foreign Office meeting with Royer is brought forward in a bid to derail the Blackstone's plot. I have to go to bed, but I want to know what happens. Fuck it, let's do it. Hope this one isn't like 20 minutes long. It's like 4 in the morning right now. I have to go to bed. Sunday, 14 June, 1914. Sir Walter's cottage. Artonswell. I'm sorry for calling it Karolides the entire time. I didn't know it was Karolides. Came down to breakfast next morning after 8 hours of blessed dreamless sleep. Wonderful. I found Sir Walter decoding a telegram in the midst of muffins and marmalade. His fresh rosiness of yesterday seems a thought tarnished.
I had a busy hour on the telephone after you went to bed. I got my chief to speak to the First Lord and the Secretary for War, and they're bringing Roy over a day sooner. Now, this wire clinches it. He'll be in London at 5. Odd that the code word for a sous chef d'etat major general should be porker.
He directed me to the hot dishes and went on.
Not that I think it'll do much good. If your friends were clever enough to find out the first arrangement, they're clever enough to discover the change. I would give my head to know where the leak is. We believed there were only 5 men in England who knew about Royer's visit, and you may be certain there were fewer in France, for they manage these things better there.
Look at those potatoes. The Wire, page 1. Royal dines with my chief and then comes to my house where 4 people will see him. Whittaker from the Admiralty, myself, Sir Arthur Drake, and General Winstanley. Page 2. At my house, he will get a certain document from Whittaker, and after that, he will be motored to Portsmouth, where a destroyer will take him to Havre. Jesus. He will never be left unattended for a moment till he is safe on French soil. The same with Whittaker until he meets Royer.
That is the best we can do, and it's hard to see how there can be any miscarriage. But I don't mind admitting that I'm horribly nervous. This murder of Karolides will play the deuce in the chancelleries of Europe.
I don't know what he means. Annie, explain to me.
Hannah, can you drive a car?
Why, yes.
Well, you'll be my chauffeur today and wear Hudson's rig. You're about his size. You have a hand in this business, and we're taking no risks. There are desperate men against us who will not respect the country retreat of an overworked official.
Okay. It was a soft, breathless June morning with the promise of sultriness later, but it was delicious enough swinging through the little towns with their freshly watered streets and past the summer gardens of the Thames Valley. Big Ben. We're in London. Wonderful. I landed Sir Walter at his house in Queen Anne's Gate punctually by 11:30. The first thing he did was take me around to Scotland Yard. Oh, to completely clear my name. Oh, Jesus. We walk in, he's like, "This is the man, give me my money." And they like handcuff me, and then that's the end of the story. Wonderful. There we saw a prim gentleman with a clean-shaven lawyer's face.
McGillivray, I've brought you the Portland Place murderer.
The reply was a wry smile.
It would have been a welcome present, Bullivant. This, I presume, is Mr. Richard Hannay, who for some days greatly interested my department.
Mr. Hannay will interest it again. He has much to tell you, but not today. For certain grave reasons, his tale must wait for 4 hours. Then, I can promise you, you will be entertained and possibly edified. I want you to assure Mr. Hannay that he will suffer no further inconvenience.
This assurance was promptly given.
You can take up your life where you left off. Your flat, which probably you no longer wish to occupy, is waiting for you, and your man is still there. As you were never publicly accused, we considered that there was no need of a public exculpation. But on that, of course, you must please yourself.
McGillivray, we may want your assistance later on.
Collected. McGillivray. Cool. In my pocket.
Come and see me tomorrow, Hannay. I needn't tell you to keep deadly quiet.
deadly
If I were you,
quiet.
I would go to bed, for you must have considerable arrears of sleep to overtake. You'd better lie low, for if one of your black stone friends saw you, there might be trouble.
Of course.
It was very pleased to be it was very pleasant to be a free man, able to go where I wanted. Where do I want to go? A free man. Midday. I went to the Savvy Lounge, ordered very carefully and a very good luncheon, and then smoked the best cigar the house could provide. I was still feeling nervous. When I saw anybody look at me in the lounge, I grew shy. I wondered if they were thinking about the murder. Afternoon. I took a taxi and drove miles away up into North London. I walked back through the fields and lines of villas, terraces, and then slums and mean streets, and took me pretty nearly 2 hours. So I went for a walk. I dined at a restaurant near German Street. I was no longer hungry. I let several courses pass untasted. I drank the best part of a bottle of Burgundy, but did nothing to cheer me. An abominable restlessness had taken possession of me. I didn't feel like going back to my flat. That had to be faced some time. But as I still had sufficient money, I thought I would go put off till next morning and go to a hotel for the night. I had only been a month under the ban of the law, and it was quite enough for me, yet I felt curiously at a loose end. I felt that great things, tremendous things were happening or about to happen, and I, who was the cogwheel of the whole business, was out of it. I kind of feel that way too. I feel like this is spiraling and then out of our control now. Here was I, a very ordinary fellow with no particular brains, and yet I was convinced that somehow I needed to help this business through, that without me it would all go to blazes. I told myself it was sheer silliness, silly conceit, that 4 or 5 of the cleverest people living with all the might of the British Empire had their back, had the job in hand. Yet I couldn't be convinced. It seemed as if a voice kept speaking in my ear, telling me to be up and doing, or I would never sleep again. The upshot was, about 9:30, I made up my mind to go to Queen Anne's Gate. Very likely I would not be admitted, but it would ease my consciousness to try. On my way, I passed a group of young men. They were in evening dress, had been dining somewhere, and were going to a music hall. One of them was Marmaduke Jopley.
By God, the murderer! Here, you fellows hold him! That's Hannay, the man who did the Portland Place murder!
I wasn't looking for trouble, but my ill temper made me play the fool, and the sight of Marmy's imbecile face was more than I can bear.
What's going on here?
Oh, this man is the Portland Place murderer!
Damn it all! Make the fellow shut up! I advise you to leave me alone, Constable. Scotland Yard knows all about me, and you'll get a proper wigging if you interfere.
You got to come along with me, young man. I saw you strike that gentleman cruel hard. You began it too, for he wasn't doing nothing. I've seen you. You best go quietly, or I'll have to fix you up. Watch him! Watch him! Come back here!
Oh, Jesus Christ, Hanny. I have a very full turn of speed, and that night I had wings. In a jiffy, I was in the Pall Mall and had turned down towards St. James Park. Happily, there were a few people about, and no one tried to stop me. I was staking all on getting to Queen Anne's Gate. Fucking hell, Hanny. You can't just go one fucking... I've been like, dude, look, I got acquitted from the crime. Shut up.
I must see Sir Walter. My business is desperately important.
The butler was a great man. Without moving a muscle, he held the door open and then shut it behind
Sir
him.
Walter is engaged, sir, and I have orders to admit no one. Perhaps you will wait.
See here. There's trouble about, and I'm in it. But Sir Walter knows, and I'm working for him. If anyone comes and asks if I'm here, tell him a lie.
Do right, Hanny. I was seated and told to wait. It's a great place. He returned to the door and with a face like a graven image waited to be questioned.
This is the house of Sir Walter Bullivant, and I am under the strictest orders not to let anyone, no matter who, interrupt his office.
Damn. Queen Anne's Gate. Oh, great. Greek premier assassinated. Yes, we know this. Thank you. Okay, I'm back. Done. I hadn't waited long until there came another ring at the bell. The butler made no bonuses about admitting this new visitor. I recognized the first Sea Lord, the man, they say, that made the new British Navy. He passed my alcove and was ushered into a room at the back of the hall. As the door opened, I could hear the sound of low voices. It shut, and I was left alone again. Collected, Lord Aloha. For 20 minutes I sat there wondering what I was to do next. Then the door of the back room opened, the first Sea Lord came out. He walked past me, and in passing he glanced in my direction, and for a second we looked at each other in the face. I had never seen the great man before, and he'd never seen me. But in that fraction of time something sprang into his eyes, and that something was recognition. You can't mistake it. It's a flicker, a spark of light, a minute shade of difference which means one thing and one thing only. I collected a telephone in my pocket. Where'd this guy fucking recognize me from?
Lord Aloha's residence. How may I help you?
Is his lordship at home?
His lordship returned half an hour ago and has gone to bed. He's not very well tonight. Will you leave him a message, sir?
I knew it.
Who is it? Not a moment could be lost, so I marched boldly to the door of that back room and entered without knocking. Oh shit, what happened? I guess you'll find out next time. Thank you for joining me. Peace out, everybody.